Hi guys, it's Steve from Disruptive Wealth Creation. Today you're going to see a conversation between myself and Guillermo from Finance ABC. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make the Bitcoin conference this year, so instead we decided to hold our own mini conference and discuss Bitcoin. I hope you enjoy this video. We will be doing a follow-up in 6 months' time to see how shares and Bitcoin are getting on. Okay, so let's go. Right, so basically, I'm a big fan of Bitcoin. And, you know, Bitcoin's not been around for a very long time. In fact, Bitcoin started around about 2009. Okay, and people say, well, Bitcoin's volatile. Well, yeah, I know Bitcoin's volatile. It's volatile for a reason, because it's a new currency. Money's been around since the 12th century. So that's why money's a little bit more stable than the Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin is going crazy. And part of that reason is because not many people have Bitcoin. Okay, and as we get more and more people into Bitcoin, the currency will stabilize. At the moment, there's a few people that have got a lot of Bitcoin and they're investing in it, they're selling it, buying it, and they're causing that disruption. But my view, and the view of a lot of other people, is when we get more and more people into Bitcoin, then that Bitcoin will start to settle as a currency. And then once it's settled, people will be able to start using it properly like they use cash at the moment. Okay. The main thing about Bitcoin for me is that it's decentralized. So you don't have to go to a bank. Okay. The money's on your mobile. You get a virtual wallet. Okay. You buy the currency, you have the currency. Now, let me give you an example of why I think it's a good system. Let's say I've got a friend in North Korea, okay? I've got $1 million and I want to send those $100 million to my friend in North Korea. Now, normally I'd have to go to the bank. And what do you think the bank's going to do? Ask me 101 questions, make me fill in forms. And at the end of the day, they might say, no, you can't send the money. And that's my money. And they're telling me I can't send it. Whereas if I have this in Bitcoin, I just press my buttons, a couple of seconds later, the money's there. So that is just like an example of why Bitcoin is like an attractive currency.
Yeah. Did you hear about the Bitcoin conference in Miami last week?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
It was interesting. I mean, the thing about conferences is you obviously get your wacky people and then you get your sensible people. So you get a cross selection of people. And, you know, that adds the spice to life. But the one thing that I did enjoy and like very much was the young man who talked about how he was improving life in El Salvador. Because in El Salvador, 70% of the population don't have a bank account, okay? But if you have a mobile phone, there's nothing stopping you getting Bitcoin, okay? And what he was also saying was that there were people in El Salvador going to America, and what they were doing was they were working very, very hard. And then when they were going back home or wanting to transfer their hard-earned money home, 50% of it was being taken away by the American government through, obviously, the currency exchange and all the other hidden charges that go with it. Whereas he said now that they had the Bitcoin wallet, that they could transfer that money without too many problems, and they could save themselves a lot of money. And that kind of shows you that the freedom of having a decentralized currency rather than being dictated by some bank. You see, the thing with Bitcoin is that you own Bitcoin. It's yours. It belongs to you. The money that you have in the bank, the bank kind of looks after it, but the bank actually owns the money because the bank can print more money and devalue your money. That the bank, you know, one day you can go to the bank and the bank's closed. And it's like, well, I want my money. I'm sorry, we're closed. Or you might go to the ATM machine to get $100. And the ATM machine says, oh, no, you can only take $50. So you have no control over your money. But with Bitcoin, you have 100% control.
Well, yeah. You know, some of the flexible aspects that you allude to are true. But in reality, you know, if you have a bank account, and you want to transfer money to people, you could do it. You could do it all over the world, and it costs very little. And certainly, one thing that struck me out of the conference in Miami, 12,000 people attended, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
And a lot of people were complaining about the Federal Reserve and saying that Bitcoin is decentralized and better. And I think to myself, well, the Federal Reserve was created after the Great Depression to protect the economy, to provide for full employment in the United States and stable prices, to control inflation. And certainly, Bitcoin, if it were to be adopted as a currency, wouldn't have those protections. And it's sorely right now it's not regulated, and so there's a lot of fraud. I mean, President Trump said that Bitcoin facilitates illegal activities, like for drug trafficking. Most recently, that Colonial Pipeline and Dark Side incident, where ransomware was requested because they put a virus on their computer systems. 75 Bitcoin were paid, and that was like $5 million. But the FBI was able to recover about 63.7 Bitcoin through the virtual wallets. So it wasn't like an anonymous, the anonymity aspect of Bitcoin is no longer there because technology is improving by leaps and bounds. Get your money, So because Bitcoin is so unregulated, there is the opportunity for investors to lose money. And one of the big risks that Bitcoin investment has is the fact that more regulation might come. Look at the crackdown that China started. The U.S. is looking at it. If Bitcoin is a currency, the Treasury Department is going to get involved. The Federal Reserve is going to get involved. And if it's a security, then the Securities and Exchange Commission is going to look into it. Or if it's a commodity like a metal, the Chicago Board of Trade might impose their own regulations. So who knows what kind of regulation is coming, and it could be brutal for the price. I mean, I've seen the price graph. Bitcoin came up tremendously for the last 4 months. It was very high, and then it's come down to almost like a head and shoulders formation. I mean, if you are a technical analyst, you might see a bearish formation coming. If it breaks the 30 or 29,000 level, I think there's not going to be any support until 10,000. So it's a big risk there. So again, who knows what Bitcoin is going to happen? Certainly, if you're going to use it as a currency, you can't function with a currency that is so volatile. If it's going to be a hedge against inflation, I don't know. Inflation is increasing and Bitcoin price is coming down. You might not get your hedge from that movement, but I think that certainly, if you want to buy Bitcoin, you could do it in Robinhood safely. You're not, of course, having the Bitcoin to pay other people, but you're benefiting from the price movements and the investment aspect of it. So certainly, I don't know. I think investing in stocks provides you with diversification. It's stocks or Bitcoin. It's similar to investing in an index or investing in one particular company. I mean, if you're going to put all your money in one company, you're not diversified. If you're going to put all your money in Bitcoin or a sizable portion of your portfolio, it might be too concentrated. So if you want to buy Bitcoin for 1 or 2 or 4% of your portfolio, I have no problem with that. I wouldn't do it myself, but certainly stocks, they have a track record of earnings. Stocks, generate earnings, and the earnings support their value The value is rational. With Bitcoin, Bitcoin has no earnings. And so, you know, if I am a UK investor and I want to invest in the dollar, you think the dollar is going to be strengthened against the pound, for example, you're not going to buy dollars and leave them in the checking account, are you? No, you're going to probably exchange your pounds for dollars and then buy American stocks or American treasury bonds or something that is going to generate income for you. So if you have pounds and you buy Bitcoin, it's like you have pounds and you buy dollars, you just leave the dollars under the mattress. Is that the idea of investing in Bitcoin? I don't know. You know, certainly in the future, you might be able to buy securities or commodities or something with the Bitcoin that yields you something. But right now, you're just buying the currency and you're putting it under the mattress, generating no income at all. So, you know,
Okay.
it's the point of view.
Sure, no, that's fine. I mean, I agree with you in terms of the volatility, because I had a look at some statistics, and basically, Bitcoin is 80% volatile. Okay, and if we compare that to the S&P 500, that's 15% volatile, and if you compare it to gold, it's 8% volatile. So obviously, there is a lot of volatility in Bitcoin, but as I said before, you know, Bitcoin is a new currency. I mean, it's only been around since 2009. And as I said, you know, with money's been there longer. And you know, Bitcoin hasn't still spread across the whole world. Like we know that, or maybe you, I don't know if you know, but El Salvador has actually adopted Bitcoin as its legal tender. It actually adopted it today, which was incredible. Okay. And there's lots of South African or South American, I should say, and African countries that are looking towards Bitcoin. And the reason they're looking towards Bitcoin is because, you know, a lot of these countries have got a lot of debt, and that debt is American debt from US dollars. And, you know, those debts are crippling those countries because their local currencies are worthless. So that they want to get out of that sort of system, and they want to break loose from that. And that's why they're becoming more and more interested in Bitcoin. The other thing is, it's taking time, but my view is, and that of other people, is that slowly, Bitcoin is actually going to become more mainstream. I mean, in the US, for example, there's already 32 companies that just do Bitcoin, you know, that they buy and sell in Bitcoin. There's over 150 companies that accept Bitcoin. And then you've got all these sort of large people like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan. You've got MasterCard. All these people are getting involved in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is not going away. Okay, maybe it's not going to replace the dollar, and maybe it's not going to be the hedge instead of gold. But slowly, it's growing. It's growing. It's becoming more popular, and more people are showing an interest in it. Okay. So one of the things I'd like to talk about is the hedge. You know, why people are getting into Bitcoin, and why they see it as a good hedge. I mean, if you take something like land, and you take something like gold, and you take something like stocks, there's a few disadvantages there. And let me explain how. God forbid, let's say there was a war, there was some sort of insurrection, there was some sort of civil war, and you had to leave the country. You can't take the house with you, okay? If you've got gold, or if you've got some possessions, there's only so many things you can carry, okay? And the stock market probably would have crashed by then anyway. So the thing is, all you need to have is the password in your head with that password for your Bitcoin. And you've got your mobile phone, you get across the border, you tap into your mobile, and your money's safe. So in terms of as a hedge, you know, it's not a bad deal, okay? And as I've said before, you know, you have control over the money. I know it's volatile, but nobody's going to start printing more money and devaluing the hard-earned money that you've earned over 20, 30 years. Nobody's going to put a stop on the ATM. Nobody's going to close the bank, because you have the money on your mobile in your wallet. And the other thing I would say to you, because obviously you're talking about regulation and things like that, the Chinese have been talking about banning Bitcoin they keep talking about it, banning it, and then they go away and they ban it again. And they've got so fed up with it now that they're actually creating their own digital yuan. So they're actually creating their own currency. And I think the Americans realize this, and they're not going to get left behind. So either they have to create their own currency or they've got to back Bitcoin. But something's got to happen in that crypto world, because otherwise the Americans will get left behind. So that's something that needs to be taken into account. So I don't know, in terms of investing personally, I invest about 5%, okay? But I don't have that much money in Bitcoin. But what I would say to you is, if I did have more money, I wouldn't keep it at Binance and at Coinbase, which are the main platforms for digital currencies. I would keep them in a wallet on my mobile. And the reason I say that is because obviously you've mentioned the fact about regulation. You've mentioned the fact that there's no reason, there's a possibility that Bitcoin could get banned, for example. Well, if that happened, what would happen? Well, I guess the government would walk into the main office at Coinbase, that seize all the computers, that go through all the computers, that check everything, who's got what the names are, everything. They figure it all out, okay? But if you've got that on your mobile, I reckon you're more secure, and nobody's going to touch your money. So I think that's something to think about. And the other thing, of course, as well, which a lot of people don't realize, is that with Bitcoin, a lot of the people that are involved in mining and involved in all that kind of stuff, they're very clever and very intelligent people. And I'm not sure whether the government wants to lose those people because, you know, technology is moving forward and the genie's out the bottle now, so you can't stop it. You've got to move with it. Maybe you need to change it, do different things, but it's not going to go away. Bitcoin's here, it's going to stay, you know, whether people like it or not, you know.
Yeah, certainly it's going to stay. I agree with that. But the issue is whether it's going to be a good investment for you.
Yeah.
And my concern is that you may be right that crypto in your digital wallet will be safe there and you can take it anywhere. But if the government cracks down, you know, the value of that Bitcoin is not going to be the same. I mean, it's trading today in the 30,000. It could be 10,000. So sure, you may have those Bitcoins in your wallet, but they're worth less now. And so look at Tesla. Tesla is one of the companies, like you said, that adopted Bitcoin earlier this year, and now they're backtracking. And so why are they backtracking? They're saying that Bitcoin is bad for the environment. They're saying that mining the Bitcoin has a very large carbon footprint. And so what are they doing? They are looking into other currencies or other cryptocurrencies that are going to compete with Bitcoin. So as a matter of investing thesis for Bitcoin, you have to look into, yeah, Bitcoin is limited to 21 million Bitcoin, but there are other currencies, and the Chinese are going to come up with their own cryptocurrency that is going to compete with Bitcoin. And so what do you think that's going to do to the price of Bitcoin? You know, obviously it's not going to be positive for it. And if the US adopts its own digital currency, digital dollar or whatever, what's that going to do to the Bitcoin price?